Hi, I'm Dusty Baker, manager of the Houston Astros, and you're looking and listening to Chopping It Up with Buck.
On this week's edition of Chopping It Up with Buck, I am excited to have a guy that I look at as a mentor. He's just been so much to me in my life, and we've talked about trying to do this for a long time, and I just want to take it all the way back to when I met you, Bake.
Wow.
Dusty Baker. And the first time I met him, it was through Ralph and Ruby Gar when I was in high school, and I was getting ready to go to UCLA. And the first thing I said is, man, I really like you, but you always beat my Astros. And he said, hey, tell them guys they need to play better if they want to beat me. And ever since then, he is, he's a godfather to my son, Kyle. Just has taken us in as family. And when I went out to L.A., had a chance to hang out with him and his family. And, it's good to have you on because that's one of the reasons why this has come about, just watching
But
you
tell the
interact
truth.
with people.
Tell the truth what happened, Charles.
Just tell us what this COVID-19 is.
Yeah. Well, first I got to tell a story that I let Charles and Reggie Moore use my truck. Okay. And they brought it back empty and with a couple tickets on it, parking tickets on it. So I said, hey, man, don't ever bring my truck back empty or with a ticket again. And ever since then, we've been close. But
that's the only time I've seen you mad.
I was mad. Like, oh, hey, I ain't the Alumni Association. You know what I'm saying?
That's the first thing you said to me.
But, the COVID-19 is actually it's not been that bad here for me personally, because I'm spending time with my son that I haven't spent in years, because he's taking all his classes online. He goes to Cal. We're hitting every day. But and we're working out, and I've lost weight. But this has been a terrible thing for the world. And you see the amount of people that are dying. I watch CNN every day. I've really come to really respect the Comos. How they've handled it. Our governor, Gavin Newsom. But I see. This COVID-19 is really, on top of everything else politically, has really split our country. Mm-hmm. And, there are people that believe it. There are people that disbelieve it. But, from my family's really apprehensive and scared for me, because I'm 70 years old. I've had a stroke 7 years ago. I have high blood pressure when I was 19. I had prostate cancer at like 18 years ago, and borderline diabetic. So like I'm really watching myself, and watching my social distancing. I got all kind of masks, and I am kidding you, man. I got masks galore in all my cars, and so I'm hoping that this thing subsides and ends very soon. And especially you see, the minorities that are suffering, lack of health care. Like I really enjoyed the interview by Magic Johnson on CNN. And he told it, like it was, and just, wasn't being racial. He was just being factual. Yeah. And so, like I said, I'm hoping that all of us in the world, and some what it's done in my personal house here is that it's made me clean out my closets, clean out my garage, and make me realize how blessed I am, and actually that we all have too much. Yeah. And so I gave, a lot to the homeless, a lot, to people in need, and I still got a lot. And so it's made me very, very thankful for everything that, that I have, and hopefully we're all thankful and try to help as many people out as we can.
Yeah, it's done so much from the way of having us clean out things, but get closer to our family and friends and loved ones, and calling people you haven't touched base with.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the one thing I noticed is it's making you more intentional in what you're doing, and I agree with you. Yeah. Getting close to folks. Yeah, the one story I always love is I was a young kid when this happened, when Hank Aaron hit 715. You were on deck. And I'm always fascinated by that because you got to see history in the making. You and Hank Aaron played together. You were with Ralph Garr with the Braves. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that. That when you saw that ball go, and for a while he was getting a lot of death threats. There
Right.
was a lot of things leading up to that. But you
Well, there
always,
were a lot of things. Yeah, there
yeah,
were a lot of
yeah,
things leading up to that. He had a bodyguard. He had 2 rooms. One
yeah,
room he slept in. One room, uh, it was registered under his name that he didn't sleep in. At that time, it attracted people from all over the world. I mean, that's the one good thing about that. I mean, we went over Jesse Jackson's house. I met all the civic leaders in Atlanta, Ted Abernathy and, Andrew Young, Maynard Jackson. We went to by the White House to see Jimmy Carter. I mean, that was a very positive that it brought a lot. Jim Brown. All the great athletes. Bill Russell came around to see the hammer.
yeah.
And there was Ralph Garr and myself, like we were just young dudes hanging with Hank because we were kind of in charge of keeping Hank loose, even though we didn't know that. And we were in charge of sometimes he'd make us sit down on the plane with him and just tell him to make him laugh. You know what I mean? Because he loved to laugh, but he wasn't very happy at that time. He was, I think he had just gotten divorced or separated. And so it was a bad time, but on the on-deck circle, I was batting behind him. I mean, supposedly I was supposed to be protecting Hank Aaron. There ain't no way in the heck. And they were saying, "Oh yeah, he's the next Hank Aaron." No, there ain't no next Hank Aaron. And but he told me, he says, "Dusty," he said, "I'm gonna get this over with right now." And I remember one time he hit a ball right before that, and the wind blew it back, and he told me that Babe Ruth blew it back in the ballpark. And but he told me, he said, "Dusty, I'm gonna get this over with right now because I'm tired of this." And he said, like, school us all the time. He'd say, "Look, this guy's gonna throw me a slider low and away. I'm gonna take him over the right field fence, or this other guy is gonna throw me this pitch. I'm gonna take it, make him think I'm looking for this." I mean, this guy was a genius on the baseball field. I mean, he was an outstanding base runner. He was an outstanding, defensive player. I mean, he made everything look smooth and made it look easy because he would always I'm big on forethought now because of him. He would visualize things happening before they happen. And this is what I try to tell kids now, that you have to visualize yourself, being great. Visualize yourself in the act of doing something before you do it. And, Charles, when you were a kid, I don't know who you idolized, probably somebody on the Oilers, but,
Earl Campbell,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, we play games in the backyard and you're playing with your friends. And, always it was 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I take the last shot of the game. And if I missed it, I was fouled naturally. And then, bases loaded. Here comes Baker to the plate, always. And then when you get in that situation, then you're not surprised. You get in that situation, you expect, to do these things and this is what Hank taught us as much as anything is, forethought, and then visualize yourself doing things.
Well, your first coach too was your dad. I know your mom and dad are close to you, but Mr. Baker Sr. was your first baseball coach.
Oh,
and, he was hard on you. Now he taught you the game, the way the game should be played. Tell us a little bit about what he did.
He taught me how to be a man. You know what I mean? And my dad was everybody's coach in Riverside, California. I mean, my dad coached Bobby Bonds. He was Bobby's little league coach. I was always following them around. I was 4 years younger than Bobby, and we, Stan Davis, Bill Parsons. We had a bunch of pro ball players come out of Riverside. Yeah. But my dad was big on attitude. You know what I mean? And he's big on attitude, going to church, doing your schoolwork, and so. He cut me from his team when I was 8 because I threw my glove up against the wall.
He cut
I had a bad he cut me from his own team. And then he cut me from the team the next year when I was 9 because I threw my bat up against the wall. I had a bad temper, and I struck out. And then he cut me the next year because my best friend told me he was going to hit me in the head and during tryouts, and he hit me, so I quit. And so my dad said no son of his was going to quit at anything. I had too much money invested in you, that $9.99 Sears and Roebuck's glove. And so I played in the minor leagues, so 8, 9, and 10. And my dad said that, if you could take that bad attitude and put it in a positive direction, that you could be something someday. Yeah. And that's why I tell kids and coaches, I said, a lot of those guys that you think have bad attitudes, if you could put them in a positive direction, they actually have more fire and umph on the inside than the average kid. You just have to have a way to get it, to get it out of them, whether it's through love, whether it's through discipline, whether it's through, that's the hard part about being a coach. I mean, it's real hard. You don't know, who to push. You don't know who to put your arm around. You don't know who to ignore, and so I have a special spot in my heart because of my dad for coaches, because they spend more time with our kids than we do. You got kids. If you spend an hour a day, nobody eats together in the house. You know what I mean? They eat at different times. Yeah. If you spend an hour a day with your kid, that's a lot. Yeah. And you figure practice is at least a couple hours.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So that's why I rarely come down on coaches.
Well, you say that winning the World Series with the Dodgers, you were a clutch hitter. You talk about forethought. So you always – that's why I didn't like you when the Astros would play you, because you were beating us. But when you guys – Tommy Lasorda was your coach there. What kind of influence did he play, or any of your coaches in the past play, for you to get into coaching like you have for so long?
Well, that's a good question. Tom Lasorda was the ultimate positive thinker. Okay. He was always positive. And a lot of coaches. I had Jim Gilliam, who was a great coach, with the Dodgers. I had Preston Gomez, who was a great coach. I had, Danny Ozark, and I also had, some outstanding coaches, with the Braves. I had, Luke Appling. He was an old country dude, and he used to tell me all the time. He said, "Dusty, to be lucky, you got to think lucky." And again, that's that forethought thing I was talking to you about, and you got to have a positive attitude. But I've learned a lot, like I said, from some positive coaches. But as important on the other end, I've learned how not to be from some bad coaches, and I think that how not to be is as important as how to be. Because I've had a couple coaches embarrass me in front of my other players or whatever it is, and I'd never embarrass any of my players now because of that. And if they do, they chose that form. I just as soon call you in my office. Nobody needs to know anything. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, man, sit down. We're gonna have a little come to Jesus meeting in here in this office, and then nobody, needs to know, anything about what we talk about. And so, like I said, how to be is just how important as how not to be. And in my coaching career, I really didn't want to be a coach. Oh. I was chosen, all my life. I was oldest of 5. I was top responsibility. But where I really learned teamwork was in the Marines. Even though I didn't want to go in the Marines, but I learned a lot. In boot camp and when I was in the Marines for 6 years, because that's the epitome of teamwork. Because if you have to guard somebody's life that you may not ever go over their house for dinner or even get along with them, in order to get home safely, both of you, well, that's the epitome of teamwork. Race doesn't matter. Religion doesn't matter. It's like, hey, man, we're on the same side. And Memorial Day is coming up on Monday. Monday. Monday's coming up next Monday. And, like I said, I got a special spot in my heart for, for the, military guys, because my dad was in the Navy. Maybe that's where he got, he was in the Black Navy. And that was back in the day, back in the day when the military was segregated. Yeah. And like I said, I got a special spot in my heart for those that, help defend our country.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come right back. We're chopping it up with Buck right after this.
Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love. Our products are triple independently lab tested to ensure the highest quality hemp available. Visit PainStopCBD.com for more information. Pain Stopper, because why manage pain when you can stop it?
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
Welcome back to Chopping It Up with Buck. We have Dusty Baker. Now, Bake, you had a long career. After that, you decided to get into the coaching. You coached the Giants. You've been with the Oakland A's. You were with the Chicago Cubs. You were with the Washington Nationals. And now with the Astros. It's interesting. You kind of come full circle. The team that I loved growing up, you're now coaching them. But
the team I was fighting against all the time.
Yeah. But through the course of all that time, you've had some really great players. I mean, people. The one thing that and I know this from watching you, you have brought those guys in and you would have a come to Jesus meeting. But I think the thing is people only consider you a player's coach. But I always say, you know how to get into the heart and soul of guys. What does that come from? Besides the military and good coaches, you're able to talk to the Latin cats. You can talk to the white guys. You bring them together, but you can cuss them out when you need to too. And that's a fine tuning thing that not a lot of people can do.
Yeah. Well, this comes from my background, Charles. I mean, I've been in like in Riverside when I grew up, I was in mostly a Black and Mexican setting. Then when I moved to Sacramento, 15, our family was the only Black family in this part of town. And there's only 2 Black kids in my high school, me and my brother. And there was only one Black girl in the junior high, my sister. And then there was 2 Blacks that fed the junior high school, my brother and sister, my little brother and sister. So then I went right from there to the South, you know what I mean? And I prayed. I said, Lord, please, whatever you do, don't let me get drafted by the Atlanta Braves. And that was the best thing that happened to me because it gave me a reality check on life. And plus I got to meet Mr. Ralph Garr. That was my roommate from the South. And so he hipped me to how to get along in the South. Because there was a certain things that you did or didn't do, for safety in your life. And then I played 3 years. Then I went in the Marines, and then I went 3 years of winter ball to Puerto Rico, Mexico, and Venezuela, where I spoke Spanish because my mother made me take Spanish in school, which I didn't know all this was going to come to, to my benefit. Yeah. So when I got when I started in the ball and started coaching, I mean, I understood, almost all realms of society. And sometimes, how they were raised is not their fault, but it's your fault if you continue to practice how you were raised, if it was on the wrong side of right and wrong. You understand? And so, I try to deal in truth and honesty. I mean, you may not, at least is my version of the truth. And I don't have a bunch of rules. My main rules, don't you lie to me. And, because you don't give me a chance to understand if you lie to me. And my second thing, you show up to work on time. Okay. I don't care if you hung over or what, you show up to work on time, keep your sunglasses on, and then, but you on work on time. And then while you're at work, you give me all you got while you're at work, and then we won't have any problems.
Yeah, you and I talked, and I have to say this too. Bob Watson was a big idol of mine growing up. He just passed away, and you and I talked about that. But there were so many great players, African American, Black players during your time. Some of that has not. It's changed.
Changed a lot.
Yeah, with baseball, you saw it in a great age. You saw the Negro League guys growing up and even playing with some that have transitioned over. What would it take for baseball to get more African-American or Black athletes playing the game again?
Well, it's going to take some more African-Americans on TV, to to be idols,
Yeah.
for the African American kids. I mean, like when I was a kid, the reason I wore number 12 is because of Tommy Davis. And Tommy Davis was to this day, I ended up meeting my hero. I wanted to be like Tommy Davis. I had idols. I had Bob Hayes and Jim Brown in football and Gale Sayers. And then I had Elgin Baylor. I had Elgin Baylor in basketball. And then I had, like I said, Tommy Davis in baseball. Oh, I had Bob Hayes in track. And so, because I played all of them. And so you try to find somebody that looks like you, somebody that's kind of built like you a little bit. Even though I love Jim Brown, he wasn't built like me. He's built like my daddy. I was built more like Gale Sayers. You know what I'm saying? And so, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take some economic help because baseball is very, very expensive to play now.
Yeah.
And when we were kids, it was one block against the next block, or one side of town against the other side of town. Now you got to go to a travel team, and it's going to cost the cost of equipment, the cost of bats, balls, gloves. It's going to take some economic help. When I was a kid, my dad was in charge of getting all the equipment. I don't know where my dad got it. He would talk these people into helping our little league. And he'd show up with a whole bunch of balls, gloves, all kind of stuff, bats, and he made it possible and presented it to us. See, all you got to do is present it to a kid. Like I told my daughter, I got a grandchild now. He's 4 months old. I said, now's the time. Just give him a ball.
Yeah, let him have something.
Just give him a ball. That's all. You ain't have to force him to do anything. Just give him a ball. He'll figure out, if he likes that ball, he will figure out games to play with that ball. I mean, right now he might put it in his mouth, but you got to stop putting it in his mouth. But just present it to him. And this is what I tell kids, and you got to give back. I mean, these guys got to see some of their heroes come around, to let them know that they can make it too. Because, as a kid, Charles, Michael Jordan seems bigger than life. You know what I mean? Or this play, or Earl Campbell seemed bigger than life, to you. But if you were ever in the company of Earl Campbell, and if you listen to the great Earl Campbell talk, he'll make you feel that, hey, man, if he did it, and that you can do it at the same time.
He and Reggie and I saw him working out on the hill where Tom Williams had in Houston.
Oh yeah.
And we saw him work, Bake. And after that, we looked at each other like, uh-oh. And this was in high school. We were in high school, transitioning to college. We said, okay, if we got to work like that, we got to get started. And man, that was no joke. And
that motivated you big time.
He came over and talked to us. Earl's not a big talker, but he was just like, hey, young bloods, what y'all doing today? Had a skull in his mouth. And he hit that hill. I have never seen a guy hit that hill. Like it made grown men cry. He hit it, went 10, 15 up and down, and then did something else in his workout. And
he said
he was just
Oh yeah, I never forget him on TV. I was watching him on TV. He said, a little pinch between cheek and gums. He say, "Skull, brother." You know what I mean? I can see. Like I met him a couple times, but I really knew Coach Williams through Ralph Garr.
Exactly.
And Ralph and Coach were real close. And there's a kolache shop about a mile from my house here.
Oh,
and
wow.
I never heard of a kolache until Coach Williams had that in Texas. He had that kolache shop. And so now that's where I go now. Every time I go in there, I think Coach Williams.
Yeah, isn't it funny how, all of the people that we know, and once I got to know you, that's what I also think is interesting. Wherever you go, you always have people that cook for you. You never met a stranger. And I think part of that is when you guys were traveling, you couldn't stay at hotels. You had to go to different people's homes. But now their kids and their grandkids also are coming to games and being a part of it. I mean, what is that like for you? Because every city you go to, there's somebody that you know.
Well,
somebody else.
It's great when you see, families grow, even though my ticket requests grow with the grow with it. But like it's I mean, you're getting older. You hope you're having some positive influences, not only on the parents, but the kids as well. You know what I mean? And sometimes you have to give the parents reinforcements to the kids that, hey, man, like I did with Kyle a couple times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, he'll tell me something I can't necessarily tell you, but I say, hey, man, look, man, I mean, your dad got your best interests at heart. And sometimes when your uncle tells you something or your godfather tells you something, I could tell you the same thing that your daddy tell you, but some kind of way that other voice telling you a different way, resonates to you. And so, I mean, I was told about my son, I mean, like now my son's working out with Barry Bonds,
Yeah. But
And
tell me about that, because I know. Yeah,
I helped Barry when he was born.
Yeah.
And like Mrs. Bonds, Bobby's mama, watched me, used to babysit me, and then when Barry was born, I think I was 15. I helped Barry the day he was born, and then now Barry's working out, with my son Darren, and I felt so good the other day because Darren came in and he goes, Dad, you're telling me the same thing that that Barry that's the same thing that Barry's telling me. And then they had a Zoom call with Darren Lewis, who Darren was named after.
Yeah. D. Lou.
D. Lou. And then D. Lou was talking to him. He was telling him how much I had influenced in him and in his life. And then he told Darren and the team something about hitting with runners in scoring position. He goes, man, that's the same thing my dad told me. You know what I mean? So I'm like, we didn't script it. We didn't do anything. But see, that's what life is all about, is that especially if you could pass on information. And my dad told me a long time ago, he says, because I didn't want to coach. I didn't want any part of it. I was going to be a stockbroker or do something else. But my dad told me that the Lord wouldn't have given me the wisdom and knowledge that came from Hank Aaron. Satchel Paige was on our team in '68. I'd be around some of the greats. He says, it's not yours to possess and just go take it and hide with it. It's yours to give to somebody else the same way that it was given to you.
Wow.
And so I've tried to tell others, hey, man, it's not yours. You didn't make it up. Okay. I mean, I ain't that smart to make up this stuff that I got, but it was, like I said, it was given to me, and it is up to me to give to somebody else. And Hank Aaron used to always tell me, he says, you understand? I said, oh, yes, sir. I understand. I didn't understand half the stuff he was telling me.
Yeah.
But he said, this is what I want you to do. He said, I know you probably don't understand this, but he says, I want you to at least retain what I'm about to tell you, because 5, 10, 15 years from now, there's a chance that light will come on, and then you'll hear me talking to you. And that's happened to me, many, many times.
You talk about Barry, and I know you've known Barry since he was a child. You coached him. You've seen the things that he's gone through. But Baker, I don't ever, and I'm a lefty, so I love watching guys from the left-handed side swing. His swing was unbelievable. And you guys went through a stretch. You and I talked about it that time where he may have got 4 pitches, and 2 of them, one went yard, one was a double that probably should have been out, and he was consistent at doing that. How was he able to maintain that, knowing people were going to not give him a pitch?
Well, he had a high level of concentration, higher than anybody other than Hank Aaron. Him and Hank they got tremendous, tremendous vision. And I remember one time Bob Gibson told Lynn McLaughlin, who's passed, he was a rookie and like me, and he told Lynn McLaughlin to don't throw Hank Aaron a fastball. And so he had him set up, boom, 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 in the 8th and 9th innings, boom. And he goes, oh, man, he just have to throw him one fastball. It's like in a gunfight with Billy the Kid. You just gotta try him. You're a little young dude. And he hit it out of the ballpark. And then after the game, I hear Hank talking with Bob Gibson. We're going someplace, and he goes, hey, I told that young boy that trying to throw a fastball by you is trying to sneak the sun by the rooster in the morning. And that is the truth. And that was the same thing with Barry Bonds.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you could, but his level of concentration, and he could see when it left his hand if it was going to be a ball or a strike. Now that's concentration. And this is what I try to tell young guys is when they're going good, they're concentrating. But when they're going poorly, their concentration is all over the map. Well, it's the same thing with Tom Brady. It's the same thing with the greats of the game in every sport. Michael Jordan. I mean, you name every sport, they have a higher level of concentration than anybody else on the floor or the court or the field.
Yeah, and you brought up Bob Gibson. He was one of those guys that you didn't want to mess with, right? And
he was mean. You can call it whatever you want to call it.
Did Bob ever brush you back or hit you?
No, but I was with Hank again. We were in St. Petersburg, and the Mets trained with the Cardinals, and so we got there the night before. We were supposed to play the next afternoon. So Hank says, "Hey, you want to go to the game?" So we went to the game, and he hit John Milner in the first inning, boom, right in the back. And so we went out after the game. I'm with them. I didn't say nothing. I was just sitting there before my rookie year. And Hank asked him, he said, "Man, why you hit that young rookie?" Because his nickname was the Hammer, John the Hammer Milner.
Okay.
He was on the Mets. And he goes, "Well, I heard he could hit. I want to get him in line right away." This is what Bob told him. I'm like, damn, what do you hear about me? Because, John and I were both in AAA. I think I hit 325 and he might hit 315. I out-hit him. And so it's like, man, I hope he ain't hear nothing about me. You know what I mean? So we're facing him. I had a 17-game hitting streak. So Hank says, "Look, I'll tell you what you do, man." He said, "Look, don't dig in because he doesn't like that." I said, "Okay." He said, "Well, don't look at him too long because he don't like that either." I said, "Okay." And he says, "Well, he don't like you bunting on him." I said, "Okay." And he don't like you hitting the ball back through the middle. And if you haven't hit a home run off of him, you just run around the bases, not too fast, not too slow. And then if you're going to celebrate, go up in the tunnel. Don't let him see you over there laughing and stuff." And he goes, "Oh, one more thing I got to tell you." He goes, "If he hits you, don't charge him out because he's a Golden Glove boxer." It's like, what the heck can I do, man? Hey, my hitting streak ended that night. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah, Bob's notorious for putting them hands on people if he had to. Hey,
later in life, I met him. Man, I told my wife, how he was. I'm in Omaha Airport. He sent me over a drink. My wife thought he was the nicest man that she ever met.
He was just a competitor, huh, Baker?
Yeah. I got you, man.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Dusty Baker on Chopping It Up with Buck.
Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love. Our products are triple independently lab tested to ensure the highest quality hemp available. Visit PainStopCBD.com for more information. Pain Stopper, because why manage pain when you can stop it?
How you guys doing? It's Artavis Scott here. The reason why I like Thin Energy is because I need to be at my peak performance no matter what I do. Big sports drink for me, keep it going, keeping myself up. It gets me on top of my game, extra boost that I need to keep it going in the fourth quarter. Working out, definitely a good drink for you to have. All the good nutrition that you need inside of it. Passion fruit, it's my favorite one. It's not just for professional athletes, it's for everyone. And I definitely can say it definitely works in the office or in the weight room, wherever you may be. You can go to thinenergy.com, tell them I sent you, and get your drink. Thin Energy, the healthy alternative. Drink it, live it. See, if I got something like that, I can just go. No sugar, no crash.
Back with Dusty Baker on Chopping It Up with Buck. Hey, Bake, so, the thing I always wonder, you've had some great teams that you've had over the years, what's maybe one or two of your favorite memories from those teams, or one of your best teams that
Hmm.
you just, maybe it was an underachieving team for you
Right.
in your career?
Well, my first team is, it's kind of like your first child, kind of,
Yeah.
when I took over in 93, for Roger Craig. And, that was my first job.
Yeah.
And, that team had players that I was the uncle, so to speak. As a coach, I always look at the coaches being an uncle and the managers being the dad. You can tell your uncles anything, but you can't tell your dad everything. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And
That's right.
and so that team that I had, with Willie McGee and Barry Bonds and Mike Jackson and you name it, Dave Righetti, Royce Clayton, Darren Lewis. I had some heck of players, Billy Swift, John Burkett. And so, that was a heck of a team, that I had. And, I had great teams in San Francisco. A
Yeah.
couple of them were down after the 94 season. That was when they had the strike, and then in 95 is when we were going to start with the replacement team. That was the worst time that I had in 95, because that was tough. That was the epitome of middle management, at that time. And then I had some good teams when I went to it was fun that first year in Chicago, when I had Moises Alou and
Yeah.
Pryor and Wood, and we made a heck of a trade in the middle of the year. We got an injection with Randall Simon, Kenny Lofton, because I'd had Kenny in San Francisco, and Aramis Ramirez.
Yeah.
I had a heck of a team. And then, I went through, it was different. Every year is different. I went to Cincinnati, and I had, the young Joey Votto and Jay Bruce, and, those guys over there. That was fun. And then in Washington, that was perhaps my favorite stop besides San Francisco, because I really loved the town. I loved the diversity in the town, the educational level of the town, the history of the town. That one kind of hurt me, to have to leave on that one, because I knew that if we had stayed, we might have won, 2 more years. But sometimes it's not up to you in your plan. So, but it's all been great. I was looking forward to Houston. This year, because I got a good team, dude. You know what I mean?
Well, talk about, when you go back and you think about the teams you've had, I think that would set you up for this team. We know all the issues that happened with Houston, but you coming in with your experience, what has that been like? I know you've only really been able to Zoom and meet this, but what is it about this team that you're really high on and that you like a lot?
Well, what I like is that these guys, they come as professionals. They come to play. And, and they welcome me, with open arms. Because, the manager they had before, A.J. Hinch, had been through the war with these guys. He took them over when they were bad, and they were getting killed. And then he saw them, all the way to the top. And, everybody makes mistakes. That's the thing about it. Everybody talks about forgiveness and, forgive your neighbor, this and that. But, the world didn't forgive us very much in spring training when I was there. Because some of these guys, this break is also maybe giving some of these guys, a little time to heal, and hopefully America, time to heal, because America was angry. They were angry at this team when I got here. But like I said, most of the time my whole life I've been chosen, for different roles. And I think that what I've been through in life with different teams, ups, downs, different nationalities, parts of the country, I think that, I was chosen, for this job too.
Well, when the Nationals didn't sign you back, I know you were hurt. We talked a lot about that. Did you think you would get this chance that you're getting with Houston? Did you think it would come again? Yeah.
No. And if I did get a chance, it wasn't going to be with a good team. Yeah. Because most of the time, because the Nationals were the first good team that I inherited. And most of the time, it's a team that's close to the bottom that you have to rebuild. And plus, there's a certain thing that's going around in America, period, not just sports. There's always been a certain amount of discrimination but the discrimination now is a little bit different, where there's age discrimination, and then with age discrimination, closely behind it is salary discrimination, because if you've been around for a long time, there's a good chance you're making a good salary, and so they can kill two birds with one stone. And then there's also a certain amount of intellectual discrimination going around, where the first question that people ask you is, where did you go to school? They don't ask what your job experience is. They don't ask, what your wisdom level is in that job. And school's important. I'm big on school, but there's certain things that school can't teach you, but at the same time, if you can combine wisdom and school and the knowledge of what you're doing, then you can't be beat.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting you talk about the Cubs season. That's where Kyle really got familiar with it. And I was taking them out of school when you guys made those playoff runs. So the teachers now know that. But back then, where's Kyle?
He was sick.
He was sick. But Darren B now, your son is playing at Cal. He got a chance to really spend some time and watch him over the last couple of years. How has that been? Spending that time and getting
Well, that was a blessing. As hurt as I was not being in Washington, I was equally or more blessed on the other end, getting to see my boy play, because I had missed a whole bunch of his life. Like he would come when school was out, because you got to have a main base. I can't just move my family to Cincinnati, Chicago, all around. So our main base is in Sacramento, and like my wife would send me videos, or I'd talk to him over the phone, but to see him play in person, at a high level, and to see where he's come from, and the fact that, he's preparing and hoping that he gets drafted, pretty high on June the 10th or the 11th, I think the days of the draft. And it's been very, it's been fulfilling, to watch him play. I actually get more nervous at his games than I did any of my games.
I know the feeling.
Oh yeah, but it was a blessing too. I mean, because I was home at the right time, in his life and in my life.
Yeah, God puts us in the right places. I also love this in doing some research. I love the name Brave Eagle that the Cheyenne tribe in Montana gave you. How did that come up? How did you link up with them, and how did that name come about?
Well, I'd go to Montana all the time with a friend of mine, Terry Heffernan, who's a famous photographer, and stay at his place in Rock Creek, which is by Missoula. And then, he met, Dennis Limberhands, whose great-great-grandfather was one of the warriors at the Cheyenne Massacre, and outside of Billings. And so we started talking, and I was on the way to the park one day, and talking to him in spring training, and there was the eagle on the ground over there. I was talking to him on the phone, and I was in Florida. I was in Sarasota, and I looked across the field, and I was like, man, I think I see an eagle while I'm talking to him. So he named me Brave Eagle, and wherever time we'd go to Colorado, like I'd invite all the Cheyenne down. I went to Lame Deer, which was a reservation a couple times, and I helped build some homes, and we went up to the Sacred Mountain and pulled some root and burn sage, and we went into the sweat house. And so like I'm very, very close, to them. And I asked him, I says, well, why'd you name me Brave Eagle? And he says that was my kindred spirit, because and he says, how they, on the movies, they, name a guy Black Crow, because that's what they saw immediately after you're born, or Running Deer, or Little Fox, or whatever. And so, and it was weird, because today, I was kind of looking, trying to find what I was going to name my grandson. And I came around the corner, and there's a hawk that was swooping through my property.
Oh,
and
wow.
I had to duck. He was. I've seen, we see a lot of stuff in nature, and so I'm close to them, and I'm close to nature at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, part of that, I love the Native American culture and all
Hmm.
the traditions and the spirits that they talk about. But one thing is, too, you love to hunt and fish. Tell me
Hmm.
what that does for you and that time when you're out there
Yeah.
in the wild and experiencing that.
Well, I learned to hunt and fish from my dad, who's from Florida originally. And even though we're from California, I've been hunting, fishing all my life. And, I didn't know that he was teaching me the same way that when I talk to the Native Americans, you don't kill more than you don't kill to be killing. You kill to eat, and you
Mm.
kill, for what you need. You know what I mean? And like sometime I can be out hunting, and if I don't see something that I want to shoot, I don't shoot it. And I remember when I was a kid, I shot a pigeon. No, it might have been a blackbird off the wire. With my slingshot. I
Mm-hmm.
was pretty good at that
Wow.
slingshot, and I know, and I killed it, and my dad saw it, and he made me like pluck it, and he's gonna make me eat it, cook it. So ever since that day, I was like, nah. If you're not gonna eat it, like my dad said, you're not gonna eat it. Don't kill it, because he's there to nourish you, much like the Native Americans. When I'm watching, slaughter of the buffalo, and they came down to the chief and the tribe came down to Colorado, and they made a buckskin buffalo, and they presented it to Nelson, Big Ramos, our catcher, because his nickname is Tatonka. Tatonka, and they love Bryce Harper, and they like how he plays, and they like Jason Worth because he had that long hair. You know what I mean?
Well, we love sitting next to his daughter because she was a little Tatanka.
Yeah.
We'd be in the stands. And
really?
Yeah. So we got to know the family
and
just, being at games. And she was so fun.
Oh, yeah. He's one of my favorites. He's one of my favorites, Tatanka.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Bake, it's been good, man. I know you want to get out and hit with Darren, and I know things are starting to speed up with baseball coming. We look forward to seeing you on the field and on the diamond. We'll get you back. We could do this all day. We do this anyway when we get together.
Yeah, I got you.
So what I want to do is
I gotta send you some wine, because I think I owe you some wine from Baker Family Wine. Because I'm surprised you ain't big for it already. You know what I mean?
Well, you knew I was gonna text you. Baker Family. Tell us about your businesses, because you're solar energy. You got wine.
Well,
you're doing a lot of good things off the field, off the diamond as well.
Well, those they all came about on years when I had lost jobs and couldn't get a job. Mm-hmm. I honestly, and it came to me because I'm into alternative energy. I'm into trying to leave the world a better carbon footprint for my kids.
Yeah.
Because when I went to Alaska last summer, me and Darren, man, I saw the glaciers melting. It looked like waterfalls. It looked like I was in the tropics someplace. And I've seen global warming. I've seen the rivers change. Not as plentiful with fish, or there's not any wild pheasants anymore. Like there used to be up here in Sacramento. So that's how I got into that. And also, I farm. I got a nice garden, and I raise grapes, and we buy other grapes. And my partner is he was the head of viticulture at UC Davis. I was lucky enough to meet him through Robert Mondavi, and then one thing led to another. He's teaching me how to, I think my vines are like 13 years old, so they're not quite old vine, but they're tasting pretty good. People like it. So
I'll take any mall back, any tab, and then when we get together, I'm gonna have you on again. We'll do this again. We got to do it live so we could have some of your wine and talk about that and show people. I'll smoke a cigar. I know you don't smoke.
No, let's do it after. We can do it after the World Series. How about
that? I say that. I was going to let you say that. But
okay, I'll say that. There you go.
Well, Baker, it's been good. Thanks for coming on. We love having you on. We'll have you on again soon. So you have a good one. Thanks.
Okay, y'all too. All right, later.
Hi, I'm Mike Gardner, founder of Thin Energy, the wellness energy that delivers each and every time.
In 6 weeks that I've been taking Thin Energy, I feel fantastic.
I lost 7 pounds in the first week.
You just squeeze it in, you take a shot, and you're done.
Get your drinks, get you hype, get you ready.
I feel great.
Jump on, try Thin Energy.
Drink it, live it.
Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love. Our products are triple independently lab tested to ensure the highest quality hemp available. Visit PainStopCBD.com for more information. Pain Stopper, because why manage pain when you can stop it?
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.